Oh my gosh. How are we doing, guys? It's a Sunday night session. It's been a hard one. It's been a hard day for me today. So I apologize for the delay. And I understand that it was the live session had said it was announced for an hour earlier. So I have to apologize for that. That was simply a mix up. The delay today, for those who are following our social media, you might have seen that I was at the Lake Hartwell Pro Watercraft race, as well as joining the third annual Belly Buster ride. And I was there with the RXPX, and I actually joined Michael Brand from GarageBound, and he's the Chattanooga Fish Pro guy. And Michael, good day from the future. I love it. Anyhow, I joined Michael, and we went down to the Belly Buster ride, and that was a lot of fun. We actually had a really good time. The problem is that my wife called me that night and said, "Hey, I think the refrigerator's dying." Okay, well, I won't be home till Sunday. And then the messages got worse. They're like, okay, it's not cooling off. There's things melting. We've got a problem. So we got up at 5:30 or 5 o'clock this morning, and we jumped in the truck and rushed all the way back here and had to go to Lowe's and drop like $2,700 on a refrigerator. And then they said they weren't going to deliver it, so I had to throw it in the bed of the truck. I had to go get the truck, throw it in the bed of the truck, get it in here. I had to take our front door off just to get the refrigerator through. And then as we got the old refrigerator out, the hose for the ice maker popped off and blew water all over the kitchen. So right now I haven't gotten the fittings yet to fix the hose and attach the hose to the new refrigerator. So my wife is upstairs restocking our new refrigerator. And after this, I'm going to be spending the next couple hours fixing and plumbing the refrigerator. But I had to run down here, at least take a quick shower, throw some clean clothes on. And so I apologize for the late start today. Very unprofessional of me, very not Hollywood of me. I apologize, but what are you going to do? It's Father's Day. I'm phoning this one in. I apologize. All right, guys. Hey, Billy's here. Happy Father's Day, Billy. Thank you very much. I kind of want to preface this by saying, I got to say something, guys. To be honest, I haven't been very hopeful for the future of jet ski racing. And I just didn't see a lot that was going to carry us the next 5-10 years. And this weekend at Hartwell, although things need to change systematically, the quantity of young talent at a relatively, there was some really good turnout, don't get me wrong, but it didn't it didn't knock my socks off. But the quantity of new, fresh, young talent out there racing that we've got, guys, I'm telling you, there are some really, really talented kids out there. And I got to give it to their parents. I got to give it to these kids. I'm really, really impressed. I'm really impressed. Obviously, Dustin Farthing's two boys, Devin and Talon, put on a great, they were in multiple events, multiple motos, really did a great job. Troy Snyder's son, Tori, he just turned 18. He just graduated high school. That kid has perfect physical form out on the closed course. You watch that kid's body English and how he was out there on an FX SVHO and hardly using the handlebars. He was using almost completely body English to maneuver that ski. And I'm telling you, that kid is going places. That kid is on fire. So definitely worth watching. I got to give it. I've known Jules for a long time. He's been an up and comer, but now as a young man, he's an adult. But Jules Hopkins, boy, Jules had just the most knockdown. I mean, Jeff Jacobs level racing. I mean, bond rail to bond rail, buoy to buoy, unreal racing, stand-up racing, unreal. The kid knocked my socks off. He was absolutely, I mean, he caught, everyone was cheering. It was amazing. It was really amazing. Then, to be honest, there's a handful of really impressive Spark and EX riders. Two girls in particular really represented themselves well, had great form. I mean, really, I know I've talked about it on this before, but I got to tell you, I really do think that the Spark and the EX are really the best gateway for the future of runabout racing. And these two girls, absolutely. Valentina was one of them. Warman, what was her first name? Oh, gosh. Warman. I remember Warman. I want to say Sydney. Oh, please forgive me. If you know her, please correct me. I'm really floored. I'm really floored by some of the young talent that I saw out there. Yeah, there was a lot of us gray hairs who were out there racing, and it was great to see, some real seasoned pros. I was giving Brian Baldwin a hard time, and Claude Clayton was out there doing great, and and his ski sounded like a bat out of hell. But I got to give it to the young talent. There was some really, really impressive talent this weekend. So I felt really impressed and really encouraged by what I saw. So anyway, I kind of wanted to preface that. I thought it was some really exciting stuff. You're going to see some coverage on the Watercraft Journal. We always cover race coverage. But that was something really special for me. I was happy to be there. It was great to run into old friends, and that's always fun. And I love running into people who watch the channel and read the magazine. And so that was always fun. I was giving out stickers and saying hi and shaking hands. But watching some really good racing. And I'm sorry I missed today, but I had to get home and change a refrigerator. So anyways, that's a little bit of preface. As always, we're going to go over today's topic. And then after about a half an hour, 45 minutes, I'm going to go back through the questions. If you have a super chat, if you donate $10 or more, you go right to the head of the line. I'll stop what I'm doing and I'll answer your question right there and then. But until then, we're gonna go with today's little quickie lesson. This one's not going to be too crazy, but it's no secret that there is a very special place in my heart for Kawasaki, and I want to cheer them on. I want to see them succeed. I want to see them get really competitive in the new sales market. I feel that the redesigned STX was a good step in the right direction. Redesigning the STX provided Kawasaki 3 new models instead of just 1. And that was really, really good. I believe very strongly that there are very cheap, I shouldn't say cheap, but very affordable, almost free additions that can be made that won't cost Kawasaki anything. And this is the biggest preface. Guys, I don't understand when people come in and they say, well, why don't they just spend $10 million and do X? Or why don't they spend $1 million and do Y? Or why don't they do blankety blank? Planet Terra, I don't have $10 for a super chat. It doesn't matter. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you, Planet. You're a good man. I love it. So a lot of people will come in and go, why won't Sea-Doo go to a 4-cylinder? Well, Rotax doesn't have a patent for a 4-cylinder. Well, why won't Yamaha go to a 2-liter? Do they need to go and redesign the engine? Is the engine that flawed? No. How long do they typically hold on to engines? About 12 to 15 years. Well, then the SVHO isn't that old. So expect them to hang on to the SVHO. To that effect, you got to look at Kawasaki. You got to look at behavior and say, how does that company operate? How long do they hold on to a hull design? How long do they hang on to an engine? What is their typical turnaround for a product design? And once you kind of pay attention to how the corporation as a whole operates, it's very, very easy to see where they're going in the future. It's really not hard. And like, for example, this is the best example. So who wants to know what next year's Sea-Doo's colors look like? Right? Anyone here, Sea-Doo fan, want to know what 2022's colors are going to look like? Go look at Ski-Doo for 2021. I'll wait. Done? Good. You've seen the entire lineup. Honest to goodness, the Ski-Doo lineup of colors is 9 times out of 10 what the next year for Sea-Doo is. And then it's been that way for a very long time. I mean, like a really long time. So that's all I got to say about that. When it comes to Kawasaki, is an incredibly conservative company. And I don't mean that like they're Republicans or they're Democrats or whatever. It's not political. Conservative in the sense that they don't jump into anything quickly. In fact, they're almost dragged in kicking and screaming. They're kind of forced into it. Look how long it took a 4-stroke stand-up. And the 4-stroke stand-up was not really what Kawasaki's designers wanted. It was kind of a compromise. They wanted the light 998 1-liter 4-cylinder that's in the H2. They were not given that engine. Instead, they were forced to use the 1.5 liter. Okay? They weren't too happy about that because they wanted a lighter engine and they wanted a smaller ski. Instead, they were forced to run the bigger engine and thereby forced to make the ski balloon out just so that it'd stay buoyant. That's kind of how it works. So in this hypothetical case scenario that we're imagining here, we're going to go over a couple things. But I want to give a shout out to a loyal viewer who I think I sassed a little too much. And sometimes sass comes off wrong in a text. And so I'm using this opportunity to A, apologize to Sergio, B, mention a lot of his compliment or a lot of his comments that he left on a video that we produced. And I went back and forth with him, and he's a Kawasaki fan. He rides Kawasaki's. He actually puts up videos of his Ultra. He's got a 310. And he made some really good suggestions. And I kind of actually want to go over all 10 of these. And we're going to address them because I think these are pretty common in the forums and in the chat groups, not necessarily with industry people. Industry people kind of know how Kawasaki operates. So it's kind of a moot point. But I wanted to do this for you guys who are Kawasaki fans. And what's funny is that there's guys out there on Yamahas and Sea-Doos. I mean, I know there's guys out there on Yamahas and Sea-Doos who in their heart bleed green. And I kind of one of those guys. It's just that Kawasaki does not build the ski that they want. A ski that might be competitive with oh no, Kimmy still can't find the leak. Well, let's get a bilge. Just put an electric bilge in it and just let it pump. Sorry, I know that wasn't a super chat, but Kimmy's been asking me questions for like weeks. I feel bad. We've been trying to work this one out. I feel terrible about it. Yeah, there's guys who are like, hey, listen, I want something to compete against an RX-PX or a GP 1800, but I don't see something that is comparable in weight and dimensions. I don't want an Ultra. I want something small, but I want something as powerful. Or I want a cruise, but I want all the luxury items. Well, what do we do? So let's go over Sergio's comments. I'm going to read them through. I'm going to read them through one shot, and then we're going to go back over each one of them. And then if I miss anything else, I'll touch on it. Hey, Colleen, thank you for the super chat. If you have a question, let me know. I'll happily answer it. But we appreciate the support. Guys, that super chats do help keep us doing this. And again, I apologize for starting late. You can rewind and listen to me gripe about home improvement. All right. So let's see. This is what Sergio had to write. He says, these are what customers want from a new Kawasaki Ultra jet ski. So he's talking about the Ultra specifically. He writes, number 1, new lower and upper hull with new design. 2, a new 1800 or 2000 cc engine. 3, new reverse system, abandoning lever and adopting an electronic system. 4, new spark plug ignition system, abandoning spark plug cables and adopting coil as already used in Yamaha and Sea-Doos. He means coil over ignition. Okay. 5, developing a new supercharger. Eaton's current rotor system is very heavy, noisy, and very hot. He also suggests ideally use the H2R's high efficiency supercharger that uses it's not a propeller, it's an impeller wheel. It is light and high efficiency. 6, reduce overall weight of jet ski by decreasing 250 pounds. 7, use in the development of new forged piston engine connecting rod. Okay, well, he's asking for new connecting rods and new pistons. He's not wrong on that one. Number 8, new design on the control panel. 9, reduce the front height by moving to the back, allowing for a flatter design as already used in Sea-Doos. 10, increase the propeller diameter with the new jet pump. All right. Michael, hey, Michael. Okay, Michael has a super chat question, so we're going to get to Michael's question right now. Michael writes, my GTX Limited has been at the dealer for a month, and they are waiting on a part that is back ordered until July 23rd. What can I do? Well, why is it in the dealer? I presume for IDF, if it's a GTX Limited, I presume you're waiting on IDF parts. If that is the case, and they're in possession of the ski already, you're kind of in the waiting game. Yeah, IDF failure. Yeah, you're waiting on. There are 5 parts that are replaced on the IDF, and they're looking at doing a correct IDF repair, which is what you want, and they're waiting on the parts. So unfortunately, they contractually cannot give you back the ski, and if it's IDF failure, you can't write it because the IDF failed. So yeah, I started a claim to ask a rep for expedited. Well, The question is whether the parts are actually physically available. And they're trying to get out as quickly as possible because, unfortunately, they're trying to address the IDFs even before they get out to the customer. So I don't have an update. I don't have good news. I wish I had new news. I don't have bad news, but I have no news. Sorry. I wish I had good news. Unfortunately, it's a waiting game. It's waiting until the parts show up. Servicing it takes a day. They're going to hopefully test it, and that should take another day. But once the parts come in and the service work is done, and they oil pressure check it. You remember when dealers and service shops used to have wet tanks, and they'd drop them in a tank and they fire up the ski, and they'd actually see if it filled up with water and it ran? No one does that anymore. I don't know of any dealerships that have an actual test tank. I really don't. Yeah, I don't know of any dealers that have a test tank. Hey, that's a good question. Guys, if you know of a dealership, and I'm talking dealerships with a service department that has a test tank and it actually tests the skis, lowers it in, fires it up, there's like tires or rubber, something to keep the ski from hitting the front of the test tank, and they actually fire up the ski and they put it in the test tank. Tell me. I want to know. I really do want to know. Because I think everyone's gotten rid of test tanks because the skis are so big. All right. So, unfortunately, Michael, I because it is IDF failure, you're stuck waiting on the parts. And it's not like someone's hoarding the parts. They're not like, I'm going to keep all these parts and I'm going to put them in the shelf. It's that everyone's waiting for parts. So it's kind of, yeah. Doesn't matter. I'm glad you know the part number, but they're waiting on the actual kit. I got the service bulletin and the whole tutorial on how to on the repair, and yeah, it's like 5 parts. It's like 5 pieces that they got to change out. New C-clip, new spring, new upper gear, new lower gear, and new actuator arm. I think that's the 5, if I recall. I need to go back and look at it. I just haven't done it. All right. Well, unless I get another super chat, we're going back to Sergio's questions. We're going back to Sergio's points. Okay. So his first point was a new lower and upper hull with a new design. Why? I understand a new deck, new hood, new fairings. Okay, that's easily done. That's style. The hull does not require changing. And the hull is from 07. So right now, we're looking at 14 years. Well, how long have we had the STX hull? The STX hull basically is unchanged since 2003. So that's 18 years. So bare minimum, Cowie's not changing for another 4 years. But I contest that the Ultra hull does not require a change at all. And I still think it's one of the most attractive skis on the water. If they want to update the hood and the fairings and the rear handle grip and the decals, okay. If they want to change the deck like they did on the STX and have deeper footwells and, narrow the seat, okay, fine. A deck isn't as, it isn't a major overhaul like a complete hull and deck. And I disagree. I think the hull is still one of the most fantastic hulls. And that's personal opinion. I'm not being objective there. I'm just saying that's one of my favorite hulls. But knowing Kawasaki, we got at least 4 to 5 years minimum with the Ultra hull. So they're not going to change it. Number 2, New 1800cc or 2000cc engine. Well, we know that the current 1.5 liter 1500cc engine, it's a 1498, comes from the ZX full-size motorcycle. That is going to be a tough one because Kawasaki is not going to commit to a fully unique, specific to the personal watercraft engine. They just aren't. It's too much money. It's just way too much money. They're just not going to do it. But he mentioned the H2 engine, the H2 and the H2R. H2R, for those who don't know, the H2R is the industry's first supercharged 4-cylinder, 4-stroke motorcycle engine. Makes 300 horsepower. That's a lot of engine and a lot of horsepower for a motorcycle. But that engine itself, I think fully dressed is something like 60 pounds less than the current engine. I think I actually heard it was like 68 pounds or 67 pounds. Well, that's a quick way to shave some weight off. In fact, it's 68 pounds that separates a wet weight RX-TX 300 from a GTR. Let me try it again. It's 68 pounds that separates a current RX-TX 300 Sea-Doo from a Kawasaki Ultra 310R. Is 68 pounds. That's because Sea-Doo lists their dry weight, and Kawasaki lists their their curb weight. Sorry, I got that mixed up. But it's just less than 70 pounds between those two skis. So if they were to put the 300 horsepower H2R engine in the Ultra, yeah, they lose 10 horse, but they shave off 68 pounds. I think that's a fair swap. Or they could tweak the pulley wheel on that supercharger and make another 310 horse. Horsepower is easy these days. Moving on. All right. Number 3, new reverse system, abandoning the lever and adopting the electronic system. Kawasaki has had the patent on this since 2014. We've talked about it, but for those who are new, I'll happily talk about it. The industry expects the new Kawasaki brake and reverse system to appear on production watercraft for 2023. That is an educated guess. I have not seen a working prototype. I have not been leaked any information. No one has slipped me a note under the desk. But that is our educated guess. And for those who don't know, how it operates is very unique to both Sea-Doo and Yamaha. And that is because when Sea-Doo patented their design, their patent was pretty airtight. And they were kind of expecting the other manufacturers to come and say, okay, listen, I need to sign a licensing agreement. Now, with the with Yamaha's ride, Yamaha had to come in and go, okay, how do we figure out how to make a brake and reverse system that doesn't borrow or step on anything Sea-Doo just made that's uniquely ours? So instead of being, Sea-Doo IBR is gas, neutral, and brake. And if you want to go reverse, you got to hold down and give it throttle. Great. It's almost like a gear lever. Not really, but kind of. Yamaha forward, reverse. You can literally put your hand on your head, grab full throttle on reverse, left hand, and go backwards all you want. You can go fast and you want to hit the brakes, and you can let go of the gas and put your hand on your head and hit this, and you'll come to a screeching halt and then start moving backwards. Okay? Well, that left pretty much no wiggle room for Kawasaki. So Kawasaki says, well, how do we save some money? How do we pull something off the shelf and make it easy to use, easy to operate, and more or less performs just like IBR and Ride? So what their patent design is, and I'm telling you right now, in fact, we published the patents. We have the patent designs. We published it on the Watercraft Journal, watercraftjournal.com. All right. Go to watercraftjournal.com and you will actually see the patent designs. It's basically under vicious rumors. And it's like what we know about Kawasaki thus far. And we put up all the patent designs for things. And one of the patents was for the tilting seat that's on the back of the STX. And the other one is for the brake. Well, obviously, the tilting seat happened, and the brake hasn't come out yet. But what the brake is on the Cowies is, believe it or not, they are reusing the thumb throttle off of their quads, off their ATVs. And so you got your trigger throttle, and then you got your thumb. And your thumb is the brake. And the thumb overrides the gas, and it deploys the reverse bucket. And if you keep it deployed, if you keep it deployed, you're pushing down on it and give it gas, it'll back up. Cool, right? Neat design. It's all done. Everything's on the right-hand side. So you could literally tape your left hand to your chest, and you could operate your ski forward, backward, reverse, neutral, everything all right in the right hand. I haven't tried it. I haven't used it. I honestly haven't secretly gone off and toyed with it. The only thing that concerns me is hand fatigue. Because if you're riding really hard or riding for a long time, you might have some hand fatigue. So it's nice to have both. But we'll see how it goes when it comes out. So Sergio's right. Excuse me. Brake system. Brake system's coming. All right. Number 4. New spark plug ignition system, abandoning the spark plug cables and adopting a coil over plug system. I agree the coil over plug system is superior. You get far better ignition timing. You're getting a more precise spark. It simply just it's just a better system. Right now, I do not know of a coil on plug system that Kawasaki's using. There very well may be, and one of you guys are gonna one of you guys are gonna correct me if there is one, which I welcome. So if you guys know of a coil on plug ignition system on a 4-stroke engine from Kawasaki, please let me know. Okay. All right. Sergio continues, develop a new supercharger. And he proceeds to complain about Eaton's twin vortices supercharger, the TVS supercharger. Eaton made the supercharger for the H2R. And I know 3 of the engineers at Eaton, actually quite well. And that's okay. It's loud. That's a twin screw supercharger. That's a Roots style supercharger. Twin screw, twin vortices supercharger does this. All right. It's not an impeller wheel that goes. And I love the whine of a Kawasaki supercharger. I personally love it. I think it's great. There is nothing more visceral than the sound of a Kawasaki at pinned wide open and catching air and hearing that blow off valve and hearing that thing scrub boost. I'm telling you, guys, if you're a horsepower, if you love engines and you love horsepower, the sound of that supercharger scrubbing boost makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. It's just I can't even replicate it. It's so bitchin'. Guys, it's bitchin'. It's hot because it produces 16.5 pounds of boost. It produces 16.8 pounds of boost. Do you know how much the Yamaha produces? Like 8. The Kawi supercharger is pressing the hell out of that engine. It is boosting the garbage out of that engine. All right. I'm telling you, it's running a lot of boost. So what do you do to fix that? And that goes to it's going to go to one of his. It's going to go to number 7. Is the way to back down the boost and keep the horsepower is to increase cylinder compression. Well, if you increase cylinder compression, you're going to want better rods. You're going to want some like good H-beam rods or some really good. They'll never go to titanium. Oh God, they'll never go to titanium. They'll just do a good polycast I-beam rod. I wish they'd go to an H-beam rod and go to like a good JE makes a phenomenal piston. Oh, God, JE makes a beautiful piston for that supercharger. It ups the compression a little bit for the race guys. But if they want the engine to do more work and the supercharger to do less work, go with a better piston, go with a better rod. Because currently the pistons and the rods on that engine are they're better than before. Oh, God, they were scattering pistons. Oh, God. Because the pistons were all hyper-eutectic pistons. They were all these basically high pressure powder material that was pressed together and baked into a piston. Not a really good choice for a supercharged engine, in my opinion. I really wish they'd get rid of the hyper-eutectic piston. They go to a really good forged piston. But we'll see what happens with that one. Okay. He writes, reduce weight by 250 pounds. Not on an Ultra, you ain't. And I'll tell you why. Coast Guard requires that a vessel retains, I believe, 45 minutes of buoyancy. So if a carbon seal fails on a Sea-Doo and the Sea-Doo sinks, the bow of that ski, the nose of that ski is supposed to stay buoyant for a minimum of 45 minutes. That is the Coast Guard regulation for a motorized vessel. And that's the bare minimum, is the 45 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. And why is that? What good does it do you? Well, that hopefully gives you enough time to radio for help or shoot off a flare or blow your orange whistle and get attention and get saved before the vessel sinks. That's one of those minimal rules that they have. And the side... Sorry. I've been up since 5 a.m. and I just wrestled a giant refrigerator into my kitchen. I apologize. And I haven't eaten. Today's been a real winter. But the size and heft of the Kawi requires more buoyancy, right? Makes sense. So that weight, it goes into making the ski buoyant. It's a lot of foam, it's a lot of padding, it's a lot of insulation. So finding a way to cut 250 pounds also drags you kicking and screaming into CM Tech, Nano XL, Polytech territory. And I'll tell you what, right now, Kawasaki's FMC fiberglass is looking real good to a lot of people. They're keeping it fiberglass. They're keeping it gel coat. They're kicking it old school, boy. And all the complaints that people have about CM Tech and all the complaints that people have about Polytech, which Polytech 2 has not had failures. I have not seen manufacturer failures with Polytech 2. Anyone who questions Polytech 2, I give it my absolute stamp of approval thus far. Nano XL, Nano XL2, the issues with paint adhesion and paint flexing and cracking, Kawasaki is not experiencing that. Yeah, there's been some cracking, but those guys are jumping waves. Those guys are really pushing that ski really, really hard. And that just happens. You ride anything hard, you're going to hurt it. All right? It's not impervious. So I think a lot of Cowie guys are very happy with the fact that Cowie has stayed fiberglass, traditional hand-laid FMC fiberglass, and go get a cheeseburger. No, I think I'm gonna raid the pantry and find grab something there. It's late, and I still got to plumb the refrigerator. I got to get the ice maker plumbed in. Anyway, off topic, but the trade for weight is all the stuff we're seeing with Yamaha. It's all the stuff we're seeing with Cowie. So do you want to trade that? Most Cowie guys are like, nah, screw it, I'm good. I'll deal with the weight. So there you go. Alrighty. We talked about the pistons and rods. I 100% agree with Sergio on that. Number 8, new design of the control panel. I presume he means dashboard. Yeah. I mean, that's not a big investment. That can be done. And with the use of the brake, could actually happen sooner than later. So, because the brake's going to have a neutral or reverse, it's going to have an indicator on it. So you're going to see some new components on the dashboard. So they're obviously going to have to make some modifications to the dashboard. So that very well may happen. All right. Number 9, reduce front height by moving to the back, allowing for a flatter design. He's wanting it to be more like the ST3 Sea-Doo. 100% disagree. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you. Happy Father's Day. Thank you very much. It's been a rough one. Hasn't been my best one. But I'm a pretty lucky guy, so I'll take it. Thank you very much. The design of the Cowie, especially being the fact that it has that very aggressive front dead rise and that very pronounced keel that runs from nose to tail. And the ST3 does not have that pronounced keel. It has a sharp bow. That's it. That sharp bow ends before the steering. All right. It doesn't even make it to the front of the hood. It is a very short, pronounced dead rise that proceeds to run into a very flat, progressive hull. Okay? Crawl underneath it and look at it. Don't be fooled by the front picture with this. That's not how the rest of the ski looks like, because it does this and then it lays down. The Cowie is always like this, all the way down. Okay. But the bow considering that the bow is designed for really rough water, considering the hull is designed for really rough water, they want to get that nose up. They want to get that bow pronounced. Billy, who's here watching, his wife Gina has one of those rubberized HydroTurf slash shields on it. And I was asking her about it. I was curious because they've done the Bimini ride a handful of times, and she actively rides that one. And she rides like a champ. It's great. And I said, "Hey, how do you like it? Do you find that it does funny things when you turn?" And she goes, "No, I really don't see the ski having any interference in its mobility with it." And the biggest concern that she had, especially out in open ocean, was at speed, the blowover. And that shield did the trick for her. And when I came back from Mudbug, I reached out to the guys at K-Speed, and they said, well, that's because the stock ski is still very much on its nose. If you take a pump wedge or their ride plate, either, don't use both, but both would be like this. But the ride plate or the pump wedge will change the attitude. We've talked about attitude. Attitude is, let me take a visual aid. Okay, here's a visual aid. Attitude, let's say this is the bow and this is the transom. The attitude is, how does it sit in the water? Does it favor the nose? Does it favor the tail? What's it doing? Well, like the FX SVHO favors the nose. Believe it or not, the Cowie favors the nose. All right. Their ride plate or their pump wedge brings the nose actually a little bit up. What that does, frees up a lot of drag, which gives you speed. It also frees up the nose from banging through the wash and actually letting the waves pass by. Hope that makes sense. Sorry for the crude the crude visual. So I disagree again with redesigning the hull. I strongly disagree with the hull redesign. Number 10, increase the propeller diameter of the new jet pump. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they're already competitive. They're not at 155. I'm going to double check. It's not telling me. That's a redesigned. Okay, they were a 158. Nope. There it is. 2014, they went to 160 millimeter. 160 is currently the industry standard for a high performance ski. So you want a 162, a 165? How big do you want to go? Pump efficiency is going to be one of our upcoming topics. Is why stator design and what the wings and the Venturi do. And I can't really get into a lot regarding prop pitch, because prop pitch really depends on so many factors. And I could go into it. It's just not going to do anyone any good. If I go in there and say a 1318 is the way to go, well, some guy in Colorado is going to not have the same kind of luck that a guy in Pinellas County, Florida will. So the prop pitch has to be, I should say, I said prop pitch, I mean impeller pitch. I swear Jerry Gaddis is going to send me a letter bomb if I keep saying prop. But yeah, the impeller pitch is really incumbent upon the different modifications and different goals you're looking to achieve with your ski. So he's actually wrong. I would disagree strongly with increasing the impeller diameter of the new jet pump. 160 was the change. Actually, the change was with the 300, right? You 300 guys are going to yell at me because I don't think it was the 310 that they went to 160. I think they went to 160 with the 300. Oh, crap. I apologize. I don't know. All right. So those were Sergio's questions. Hopefully they also answered some of your questions. I'm going to answer with two things that Kawasaki can do for dollars that would radically open up their product line, and then we'll go into your questions. Number one, the least sexy of the two options. Number one is that Kawasaki does not offer a fully loaded, fully trimmed out, naturally aspirated runabout. They have an STX 160LX, the smaller platform. They have the Ultra 310LX with sound and the tiered seat with the heat resistant material on it and the neat coloring and the sound with the little control pod right there on the steering neck. Option for GPS can go on it. A lot of really neat stuff that's on that unit, but they don't offer the Ultra LX with jet sounds, premium colors, premium seat, a lot of bells and whistles. And I got to make a point. Yamaha sells every FX cruiser and every FXHO and every FXHO cruiser that they build faster than the supercharged skis. That has been kind of this unsung hero of the Yamaha lineup. So many people want the naturally aspirated, fuel efficient cruiser or HO cruiser because they go on long distance rides, they cruise with a group, they're in a club, what have you. They don't need the supercharged ski, or they're afraid of the maintenance that goes into a supercharged ski. So they just want to go with something naturally aspirated. GTX or Sea-Doo does not have a limited GTX 170, but and then they got rid of the GTI limited 155. That was a while back. But the Yamaha, we always kind of joke about it because, like, dude, we sell every one of these things. We move every one of these stinking things. I don't understand why people aren't jumping on, or why Cowie and Sea-Doo aren't jumping on this. And I just kind of laughed because I know so many people who ride naturally aspirated 58 mile an hour runabouts. They're like, I don't need to go 70. I'll cruise at 55. And I'll blow past these guys as they go to the gas station. So, number one, that would not cost Kawasaki 1 red cent is producing a naturally aspirated, unique color or special color, fully kitted out Ultra LX. I think they need to take the LX moniker off of the current ski and just call it the Ultra. Or they call it the Ultra 160. I don't care. Ultra 160 would be fine. And then they have the Ultra 160 LX. All right. And that one's got all the bells and whistles and the stadium seating and really cool colors and jet sounds and cruise control and trim and no wake mode and eco mode and all that cool stuff. And then you bump into the 310s. And you go up the row of the 310s. But they need to offer a fully loaded, naturally aspirated Ultra. People would jump for it. I'm telling you. In fact, I talked to a couple yesterday about this very idea. And they're like, we love our Ultra. We just wish there was we would like the idea of brakes. In fact, we're looking at Yamaha because we like ride. I'm like, well, if you hold on, Cowie's going to have one. And they're like, well, but it's still not going to have sound, and it's still not going to have cruise control, and still not going to have. And I go, yeah, you're right. You're right. And they need to do this. And there's nothing stopping them. All the parts are on the shelf. There's literally nothing stopping them. Number 2 was the one that everyone's excited about. And that is a 310 horsepower STX-R. That's it. And the nice thing is that the guy, Jamie Eade, and the mad scientists at K-Speed built theirs using all factory parts except for like 2 brackets and a couple hose fittings. He said they were out $200 in new parts. Everything else was off the shelf factory stuff. They were out $200 in hoses, hose clamps, and a couple brackets. Dude. And that ski, as is, runs 80. Like, all stock components. It's got the 160 pump in it. It's got a stock ride plate. It's got a stock intake grate off of the STX. It's got the Ultra intercooler, Ultra supercharger, Ultra engine, Ultra factory air box, for goodness sakes. Factory fuel tank, 20.5 gallon fuel tank. Factory gauges, factory ECU, blah, blah, blah. Thing ran 80. Come on. And they did it with $200 of extra parts. There is nothing stopping Kawasaki from building a 310 horsepower STX-R. Bring the name back. Bring the STX-R name back. Paint it white with green and checker flag stickers like 2002. I'm telling you, build that ski. Guys, build that ski. Build it, build it, build it, build it, build it. Build that ski. You'll sell every one of them. Even if it doesn't even have brakes, you'll still sell every one of them. Doesn't matter. All right, well, I've ran an hour. We're going to go through the questions, but that was everything that I got for Cowie. Hopefully that was a fun little what if. I mean, I have no sway. No one calls me up and goes, what should we do this year, Kevin? Tell us what everyone wants us to do. No one calls me. I doubt they even watch this. Well, no, I know a few of them watch. But we'll see if this makes a dent. All right, guys, let's go up to the questions. Let's wake my Bluetooth mouse up. And let's see what we got. Oh, again, I apologize. I know we had originally scheduled this. It was accidentally scheduled for 6 p.m. 6 p.m. is when we put up 6 p.m. is when we put up the weekly quick topics. And 7 p.m., and this is all Central Standard Time, because I'm in Tennessee and I'm Central Standard. So I try to schedule everything Eastern Standard Time. So it would be 7 o'clock during the week is our quick time, or our quick topics. And then 8 o'clock is our Sunday night session. So I apologize for the screw up, but everyone who's watching, please remember, we do the Sunday night session at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. All right. Unless, of course, I'm covered in swampy water from what came out of the old refrigerator, and I had to go take a shower. All right. Let's keep going. Good morning, Kevin from Melbourne, Australia. All right. I love that. I love that we've got Australian viewers. It tickles me to no end. You guys, I love you guys. You guys are absolutely, yeah, you just tickle me. It's great. Okay. Mark Hoffman. My 2021 GTR 230 is getting stress cracks in the clear coat. Why? Is this covered by Sea-Doo? Well, there's no clear coat. It's acrylic. So the stress cracks in your acrylic is news to me. That's new. I want to know where it's cracking. And I want to see those pictures. Please email me a couple photographs off your phone or something. Email me at info@watercraftjournal.com. Mark, please email me. I'd like to see some pictures. Show me where it's cracking, because there's no paint on a Sea-Doo. There's literally no paint on a Sea-Doo except the engine. The engine's painted black. There's literally no paint or clear coat on your Sea-Doo. All right. Paul writes, Happy Father's Day, and I appreciate your perspective and feedback. I have a GP1800 on order. Any updates on Yamaha quality issues? No. I got no good news. I got no bad news. I got no news. I'm pretty sure that video went over like a lead balloon over in Kennesaw, Georgia. But yeah, I got no news on that one. I'm sorry. And that's just because it's been so sporadic and new units coming in. Hopefully this new bumper crop of skis coming in are a little better. I don't know. Jonathan writes, I live in Dubai, and it's a real shame to see that the dealer is now non-existent here, although Yamaha and Sea-Doo are selling tons of PWCs. Really? There's no dealer in Dubai? Guys. Jonathan, you need to get some startup capital, and you need to be the dealer. I think you'll print money. I think you'll be sitting pretty. All those princes and royalty. Dude, look at all the supercars. Look at the money they spend there. You're gonna tell me they're not gonna buy a Sea-Doo? Get out of town. I understand the supply chain problems, and that would really bite you in the butt. But I think someone needs to get some money together and go to Dubai and open up a dealership. Oh, I don't know, man. That seems like a home run. All right. I answered Michael's question. That's good. All right. Let's see here. Mike C. Hey, Kevin. Would the perfect ski be a GTI SE Hull ST3 upper deck for ergos and the Cowie 310 engine? No. Here's my dream Frankenstein ski. My dream ski would be an Ultra Hull with the Cowie pump, Yamaha SVHO engine, and Sea-Doo deck, and a GTI deck, not the ST3. GTI. Actually, it's not even GTI. RXPX, but with the back seat. I'm letting the cat out of the bag. The RXPX is starting to grow on me, guys. The RXPX is starting to really grow on me. Oh, jeez. I feel like I'm admitting that my favorite movie is Weekend at Bernie's. It's not. It's Back to the Future. But yeah, the RXPX is really starting to grow on me. Once I get the Riva intake grate and I flash the ECU, which I might do. I might do it, and I think Sea-Doo's gonna shoot me and they're gonna shoot me in my sleep and take the ski out of my backyard if I do that. But I think I want to flash the ECU. I think I do. I want to do the 8300 tune. Guys, the 8300 tune and that intake grate, it's 79 miles an hour. It's 78, 79 miles an hour. Everything else as is. I keep thinking about it. Oh, it's killing me. RXPX is starting to grow on me. But my Frankenstein ski, RXPX deck, with the back seat, not the. I mean, you can put either seat on it, but the RX-PX deck. Ultra hull powertrain from a Yamaha. And I know people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're going with the Yamaha. Displacement, and you can make horsepower out of that engine so easy. You tune that thing, it's making 310 horse. 350 horse out of that engine is a cakewalk. So I go with the Yamaha powertrain, and I know they fixed the cylinder head problem. So that's my Frankenstein. All right, let's keep going. How about forged cylinders versus aluminum with the Cowie? Okay, Mikey, caps are on, and I've been drinking. Yeah, they need forged cylinders versus aluminum cylinders. You mean forged pistons versus aluminum pistons? Just run the JEs. The JEs exist. Dude, run the JE pistons. Yeah. Oh god, just run the JE pistons, Cowie. Just do that. Dial back the boost on the supercharger so you're not producing so much heat. Run better pistons. Problem solved. Send me a check. Actually, I don't want a check. Send me a ski. All right. All right. As much as I want a new ski, my 2006 STX 15F has never let me down. All the new skis with fancy features equals just another thing to break down. That's a very common sentiment. And you can't just tell people, that's dumb. You're dumb. And of course, that's Facebook. So what are you going to do? But a lot of people are like, listen, man, I want something simple. I want something that's just not going to break down, that's not going to be a pain in the butt. And I have literally directed people to go buy the first 16 years of the STX 15F. I'm like, just get that. It's great. It's great. Hopefully you're not tall because the steering is really short and you can't stand up and ride it. You'll be bent over like this. All right. Brendan, how hard would it be to put that in a ski? Put what in a ski? I don't know. All right. Kevin, how confident are you with IDF? I'm excited for what it means for the future. Michael, I'm actually very excited for what IDF could provide us 5 to 7 years from now. Because I believe IDF if IDF is ironed out, and I think that's just teething issues, just like IBR had teething issues. Guys, do you remember how many times IBR modules were burning up? Do you remember how many times they were having total failures of IBR sensors? It was bad. It was bad. It was a tough start. It was a tough start for IBR. And I think they're on their third version of it. But IBR really doesn't have a problem anymore. All right. They're not breaking. They might have a sensor problem, but they're not failing. There was some gnarly failures, but that was teething. And we have to come to grips with the fact that Sea-Doo lets the public chew through those teething years. That's how it works. It's how it's always worked. It's always been that way. I'm sorry, but it's always been that way. It has. It's been one thing, and then the other, and then the other thing, and then this thing. I mean, it just happens that way. So IDF will come around as long as it's not cost prohibitive, and as long as the the powers that be at BRP see the future in it, which I think it could really spell something really exciting. And what I think it could spell out is, quite frankly, a transmission, a high, low, and reverse, true reverse transmission. Throttle will obviously be, retarded for reverse, so you're not going to go like full throttle backwards. That's not going to happen. But I think there'll be a high and low gear and a reverse. That's me. And the way that the high and low gear would work is actually inverted, in that you would start in what would effectively be high gear, and then you would, your engine would be spinning at, let's say it spins at 7,000 RPM. Okay. Or no, let's say just for the sake of being a round number, you're going full speed, 70 miles an hour at 8,000 RPM. Nice even number. Then you hit high speed or high gear, and you hit that button, and all of a sudden your engine RPM stays the same, but now your impeller is spinning 1.5 times faster. So now it's spinning 12,000 RPM. Engine isn't having to work so hard. All right. Now think about that if you're just cruising. Let's say you're only going 4,000 RPM. And you hit that. All right. It artificially bumps you up to 6,000 RPM. Understand how that works? So it's okay to spin the impeller completely bonkers. The more it spins, the faster you go. The water doesn't care how fast the engine is spinning. It only cares how fast the impeller is spinning. And if the impeller is spinning at 10,000 RPM, you're cooking. But the engine doesn't have to spin at 10,000 RPM. Does that make sense? That's where the technology is going. Okay. All righty. Any recommendations for hull protection? Would coatings like Line-X work for a GP 1800R? No. Line-X, there's people who swear by it. And I know there's people who coat like the underside of like skiff boats and bass boats and stuff like that. And there's those plastic hull, those keel guards and things like that. The best thing I recommend, honestly, for your GP 1800R is to get it up in the air and to paint another layer of clear coat with a flex additive. That's not going to fix the pretty rigid paint that's already on the hull, but it will, even though that paint might crack and you'll see fissures, very fine spider webbing, the clear coat that you've added and you could do double coats, like like one or two big heavy layers of it with a flex additive. Those will flex with the ski, and you should be able to maintain really good protection from any sort of delaminating. We talked about that in one of our videos. Okay. Colleen writes, pre-ordered a 2021 Yamaha EXR on May 8th with money down. Factory has the build date as June 21st. Does that mean I am guaranteed a ski? First-time jet ski owner. Ooh. Well, if you have a build date, that's tomorrow. That's your ski's birthday. All right? Stork's coming tomorrow. Now, does that mean you're getting delivery of the ski tomorrow? No. You're a couple weeks out when the truck shows up at your dealer. But I think you're in good shape if you have that kind of documentation. Colleen, I think you're in good shape. When I tell people to get their deposits back, it's usually with people who've been waiting 4 months or longer. If you've been waiting 4 or 5 months or longer, get your money back. Get your money back. All right. Michael writes, pulling the Cowie bucket at 20 miles an hour submarines it. needs a better bucket. It's not so much the bucket as it is the deploying rate. You went rah, and then they went woo, and just nose plowed. All right. If you look at how the Yamaha and Sea-Doo work when it deploys, it actually is incremental. It doesn't just go woo. It's incremental. In fact, there's actually an inner and an outer. And so you're going to see, I mean, it's really hard to get a camera and to film that. I don't know how to do it without losing the camera. But yeah, it's not just a it's not pulling the parachute on the dragster. you know when they were doing the first land speed records and guys were pulling chutes, their eyes were literally disconnecting from the ocular nerves because they were being jolted so hard. The eyes would literally stress and they were stressing out and tearing the ocular nerve. Whoa. Wow. Space race is cool. We did some amazing stuff. All right. Mikey writes, by the way, my brand new FX hull got effed up on the bow stop of my trailer. Thinking about taking it to a fiberglass repair place. Apparently warranty won't cover it. No, warranty won't cover it. Warranty won't cover our screw ups. If we mess up, it's on us. If their product fails, that's warranty. That's kind of how it works. All right. Mikey writes, my STX 160 is an effing battle tank. They're stout, but they're stout because they're made out of FMC fiberglass, guys. I mean, it's thick. They're hosses. They're stout. Okay. All right. Michael writes, I miss my old man's 1999 GSX Limited. Looked killer. Yeah, it was fun ski. Also, get rid of that stupid belt that likes to slip. I'll tell you what, freaking Billy and his wife Gina, he went over 450 miles without until his first belt kicked off. I don't know of a lot of 310s that were kicking belts. 300s kick belts, 255 or 250s and 260s kick belts all the live long day. But I haven't heard of a lot of 310s kicking belts. It happens. I'm sure it happens. But I just haven't. It's not as prolific as other models. All right. Scott writes, 223 hours, 2018 RX-TX, running strong, no cracks anywhere, 85% saltwater use. Good boat for me. Scott, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Nick writes, what is the best way to fill with gas? Pumps always overflow at the end. What ski? Are you talking a gas station or are you talking a pump, a marina pump? What year and make and model of ski? Because I've had pretty good luck with a lot of different skis. All right. Good day, Kevin. What's your opinion on trailers? Skids, bunks, or rollers? I don't like rollers on trailers. I don't. I like bunks, but I like bunks with the plastic runners. You know, like you can screw in like 3 of them, 3 on each bunk. And I discovered something rather interesting for you guys who have steel trailers. Not many of you do, but if you have steel trailers with fixed posts for your bunks, go get, if you can afford it, because sheet metal right now is stupid, but go get a 6-foot by 3-inch bar of stock, flat stock, and take your bunk off and weld it flat like a bunk to those perches, and then screw your bunk to the flat stock. What that is going to do is that's going to keep the wood bunk from bowing because the pressure is on the steel. Well, the steel doesn't stretch like wood does. And when it does get stretched, it pulls, it triangulates on the struts. And as long as your welds are good, you'll never have they'll bow a little bit, but you really won't have flexing bunks ever again. All right. So steel, if you can, wood bunk, carpeted, plastic runners. That's my preferred. That's my weapon of choice. All right. Oh, we skipped ahead. Holy cow. All right. What's your opinion on the Lucky 13 pump cone? I haven't gotten to use it, but I know. I know Jerry, who sells it, and he helped design it. I understand the engineering behind it. The methodology behind it is sharp. It's a fixed or mechanical it's a fixed or mechanical solution to the really neat spring-loaded extending pump cone. The Lucky 13 pump cone is really ideal for the drag racer. All right, because it takes up a lot of the volume and it generates better velocity. All right. Because your factory pump cone is a tiny little stubby little thing. Because from the factory, they're erring on the side of let's fill up that pump, let's fill up that venturi with volume. Okay? And that way that volume will have consistent thrust, so it won't be jerky. Well, unfortunately, volume gets in the way of velocity. So if you have a really aggressive stator and a really aggressive impeller, you need that pump cone to maintain that high-speed velocity of water through the pump. So the Lucky 13 pump cone is ideal for the guy who's really looking for top speed, consistently, optimally for drag racing. I hope that helps. Okay. All right. 250, 260 has a 155, 300, 310, 160. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. I knew someone would correct me on that, and I'm glad that I guessed right that it was the 300 that went to the 160. All right. Cowie seat is not nearly as comfortable as GTX Limited. Oh my gosh. Guys, Kawasaki seat is like riding bareback on a Clydesdale. Kawasaki seats this wide. It's ridiculous. Yeah, you're bow-legged after coming off of that thing. Yeah, nothing beats the ergonomics that Sea-Doo's got. GTI, GTR, RXPX is a little aggressive, so maybe my choice for a deck would be better for a GTR. ST3, which is RXTX, GTX, Wake Pro. Nothing beats Ergolock. Whoever designed Ergolock at Sea-Doo, I want to buy him a steak dinner. The guy earned his keep. So, yeah, that's a good one. My toupee is moving. Got to glue it on tighter. All right. Let's see here. It's 10 a.m. Monday in Australia. Well, thank you for watching us while you're at work. Get back to work, you bum. All right. Kawasaki, please sign me up for an STX 310. I don't need the brakes. Yeah. Dude. You and me both, Billy. I want it. Yeah, I've been begging for an STX R forever. All right. Let's see here. Marcus writes, I'm up here in northwestern Canada. You barely see Cowies. They aren't advertised, and you barely see a showroom with them. Yeah. Oh, guys, I could spend an hour on Kawasaki's dealer network. Kawasaki's dealer network is a nightmare. The people that they got working for Kawasaki's dealer network, half of them are just good old boys who don't even go by the dealerships. It's really bad. It's really bad. There's some guys that they're trying to hustle, but some other dudes, they're barely phoning it in. It's really bad news. And that's what's ultimately gonna kill Cowie, is that they have not put any effort into a vital dealer network. That's really it. And it breaks my heart because it's so easily fixed as long as you find the right people. I'll give this quick story because I think this is a good topic. 8 years ago, we had a great company named WMF Watercraft start advertising with us. And he was doing like performance kits on Sea-Doos and Yamahas and was a good Riva dealer. And but he couldn't be a new vehicle dealer. There was a Sea-Doo nearby, there was a Yamaha nearby, and he wanted to be a Cowie dealer bad. Oh, because he bled green. He really did. And I did everything in my power to connect him to the people I knew at Kawasaki. And everyone at Kawasaki Corporate deferred him to the dealer rep for his area. And he reached out and he called and he left voicemails. He sent emails. He begged this guy to come by. And finally the guy's like, okay, I'll come by. He goes, I'm going to come by and check out your dealer and see if you're Kawasaki material or whatever, he had said. So they spent a 3-day weekend. They repainted all the walls. He laid down new carpet. He set up all this stuff. He had a bunch of skis set up. But he was a used PWC dealer. And he also sold a couple brands of pontoon boats, but his heart was in jet skis. This guy, this dealer rep, no shows after all that. He no shows. So he goes, well, Bill's like, well, hey, maybe something came up. So he reaches out and goes, oh, I hope this note reaches you well. Hey, just want to make sure you're okay. We'd love to have you come by, blah, blah, blah. Nothing. The guy ghosts him. Then he gets an email like a month later. And the guy's like, oh, hey, yeah, I think I'll try to come by this week. He goes, well, what day this week? No response. So he reaches out and finally he talks to the right people and they go, oh, yeah, that guy from Cowie, yeah, he sucks. He was like 65 years old. He didn't want to do his job. He was just kind of floating by. Maybe he wasn't 65. That's not fair. But they're just like, yeah, he's just kind of set in his ways and he's not real hungry. He doesn't want to help move skis. So Bill just goes, you know what? Screw it. Because at the exact same time, the pontoon boat brands were like, man, you're really moving some of these pontoon boats. And he goes, yeah, I'm doing great. And they said, well, why don't you just be a fully dedicated pontoon boat vendor, seller? He goes, okay. And now the guy is worth $1 million. Obviously, pontoon boat sales are through the roof and they're crazy. And, I'm happy for him. I mean, I really am. But I loved working with WMF. I thought they were great guys. But I 100% understand. He's like, Cowie doesn't want to sell jet skis. They don't. Because they don't have they don't have a dealer network who gives a damn. And it's on them. It's on them. It's not the product. I think it's the dealer network. That's my 2 cents. All right. How do you change kilometer to mile per hour on a VX Cruiser HO? That should be in your dealer manual, and it's also very easily searched online. I don't have it memorized, so I can't tell you off the top of my head. All right. Sea-Doo Scotty writes, I just purchased an STX 160LX and hate how it nosedives at low speed. Would a ride plate or pump wedge be better to get the nose up? Pump wedge. Yeah, pump wedge. It's still the STX hull, and the STX is very nose heavy until it gets to plane, and it gets to plane around 35 to 40 miles an hour. Yeah, that it really doesn't get to plane until about 35 miles per hour. A pump wedge will help. It'll also free up a little bit of speed. All right. No Cowie dealers in Brazil. Yeah, that sucks. Simon, I knew you'd like the RXPX. Any news on full electric skis? I've heard rumors that Sea-Doo's a lot closer than we thought. I've heard rumors that Sea-Doo's a lot closer than we were expecting. Does that mean 2023? No. Does that mean 2025? Maybe. I'd be surprised. Here's the problem. There's no infrastructure. You can't go to a marina and charge your ski. What do you do? All right. Saltwater Life writes, having issues with the sensors on my FX SVHO after connecting the new stereo to the battery. The alarm keeps going off. Any thoughts about new stereo from Yamaha? Well, it sounds like you put an aftermarket stereo on your ski, and I don't really know what to do with that. The good news is that 2022, the FX series will get the new stereo system that is currently on the VX models. That actually doesn't really help you. But for everyone else who's curious, yay for you. All right. Brian. I love Brian's comment. Okay. Brian Sawyer writes, oh no, do not line X a haul. I just hopped on to hear this. I did it to a 550. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? That thing would have no traction at all. Okay. Porosity means agitated water. All right. A smooth surface means contact. Yes, it means drag, but it also means traction. All right. Don't line X your skis. Oh, man. All right. What about the carbon fiber pistons? Ugh. Pass. I'm sure there's some dudes who are making really good ones, but yeah. Gator Glide. I've heard about Gator Glide. I don't know if you scrub any speed. I don't know enough about Gator Glide that I can make a comment. So I don't want to say anything negative because I don't know. I'm trying to be fair on that one. Okay. All right. Oh, well, we got some questions going on here. I thought I was going to be done at an hour and a half. All right. King Akula writes, my 2021 GTX Limited 300 has 25 hours on it. Oil change and filter at 11 hours. Used my IDF 5 times. Twice it saved the day. He got a Walmart bag. 0 issues. JP Racing catch can, and the rest is stock. Dude, hey, glad to hear it. See, again, like, for example, Michael at Chattanooga Fish Pro, he's had 0 issues with his IDF. So I don't know if it was a run. I don't know if it was a failed part. There's something going on with that. I just got to dig up more information and find out. All right. Oh, good. Matthew Bell. I hear you, bro. I have 16 hours on my 2021 GTX 300 Limited, and I love it. Maybe we are the lucky ones. What a ski. Dash is great. Okay. Saltwater Life continues. Having problems with my tilt lever. It keeps coming up and down while I'm riding in saltwater. Any ideas? How can I fix it? I took it to the dealership. Came the same way. Can't jump waves like that. Don't jump waves. Don't jump waves. Stickers are all over the skis. Jumping waves hurt skis. I don't care what anyone says. Jumping waves hurt skis. Stop it. I know. It's the funniest thing to do. I like jumping waves. It's all I live for. It's all I want to do ever. My whole world exists around jumping waves. My YouTube channel is all about jumping waves. I have wave jumping t-shirts, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Don't jump waves. But don't listen to me. Your trim control, I presume, is what you're talking about. If it's toggling up and down by itself, that's a problem. All right. I got no answer for that one. Besides, I don't think it's a software issue. It's got to be a software issue. It's not a mechanical issue. I mean, unless you're seeing that it's, you can grab it and it's loose and it's clicking down and clicking up. But if it's not physically loose, then it's a software issue. Shoot. I don't know. That's a good question for like the tech, like the Green Hulk tech forum. All right. Brisbane Kawasaki. Hey, mate, we're about 30 minutes behind here. The 160 pump came out in the 300. Yes. Yeah, we caught that one. All right, Brisbane. Brisbane keeps going. All right, STX 310 has the 160 pump in it as well. We put that into the 160 hull with an adapter. Stock intake, stock ride plate. We are playing with the ski at the moment. Yeah, we just did an article on your update on the video. All right. What's the best long distance trailer tire and diameter? Literally no clue. No clue. I don't know. Because if I tell you run a 14-inch diameter rim, you're like, oh, I can't fit that in my fenders. Then I go run a 12-inch diameter rim. You're like, well, those tires are garbage. I'm like, what do you want from me? I don't know. I don't know what your trailer looks like. Okay, sorry. I'm not trying to be snarky about it, but that's a really tough one. Nick writes, I have two 2021 Cowies, an STX 160, and a 310 LX. And the pump at gas stations doesn't fill cleanly like a car on either. It always sprays some gas back out. Oh, because you are... you got it set at full. There's 3 notches. Put it at the lowest one. The air is not escaping fast enough. The air is not escaping, so what you're getting is air burping gas back in your face. It's almost the exact same thing that was going on with the previous FX Yamahas because they had a float in there. All right. Darn it. I'm going to get you the data off the adjusted thrust as soon as I get off of work. And it isn't pouring rain for testing. Okay. Any upgrade... are upgrading the sponsons on the GTI 170s one of the worthy upgrades for it? GTI 170, I'd leave it alone. Guys, I'd really leave it alone. You're not hot rodding. It's actually a decent hull. I'd save your money. I'd leave it alone. I really would. I'd save the money. All right. Do you think the 2021 Yamaha flagship FX SVHO Limiteds will all get fulfilled at some point this summer? No, they said they wouldn't. They said they were cutting down by 15%. However many units that is, I do not know. I know you said like 15% of skis will not get made. I have a deposit on one, fingers crossed. Actually, you know what? I wonder if the 15% reduction affects the EX and the FX models. I think it's only for the GP and VX models and Superjet. I don't know. I really don't know. Darn it. Seems to be my answer today is I don't know. All right. If Cowie had electronic forward and reverse throttles like Yamaha and Sea-Doo, they would be much more competitive. I agree. 100%. Kevin, is it cool if I give you a shout out on Facebook? Most definitely. Sober up first. Sorry, Mikey. I thought that'd be funny. All right. Rob writes 2021 VX Cruiser HO looking to install Riva power filter. Good or bad idea? You don't need it. It's not a hot rod. I really would leave the VX HO alone, guys. Maybe put the Pro Series sponsons on it if you want to handle like a GPHO. Okay, you can do that. YouTube channel, Nigel's Cheap Vlogs. My Sea-Doo Life Adventure, IDF failure. He talks about an IDF failure on his channel. Shows the part that went bad. Okay, well, thanks for the shout out to your other channel. J&L's Adventures. Is the carbon seal as bad as people say? I got a 2019 300 with 250 hours and never needed another one. Again, most failures are due to user error. And everyone gets all pissy when I say that, but it's true. Do you think Yamaha will ever change their 1800cc engine? Yes, they're going to go start using Rotax 3 cylinders. The SVHO is what? 8 years old? It's not that old. All right. Simon, thanks, Kevin. Great show. Now go fix your fridge and eat and sleep. Simon knows me too well. Okay. Any advice on getting a dock rope out of the impeller shaft where it goes into the hull? No. That's bad news. It actually went through into the hull. It went into the actual hull bearing. Dude, you're in trouble, bro. You can't get that rope out. And you got to pull the shaft out. You got to pull the pump out. And you got to have someone actually remove that bearing and press a new one in if it is actually in there. Because that bearing, you will sink. Dude, that's a nightmare. Oh. Anthony writes, don't get mad at me, but I've put more hours on Works Poly GTIs than my RX PX, and I'm starting to love the plastic hull. A 300 horsepower on Polytech would be so much fun. No, I think you'll rip the motor mounts right out of that Polytech hull. I think there's a reason why they didn't do Polytech for the 300s. I really do. But the Polytech 2 on the GTI is a great hull. I love it. I think it's fun. I think it's a better design than the full-size ST3. All right. Charles writes, 30 hours on a 2021 GTX 170, oil changed at 10 hours. Okay to put another 20 hours on it or change the oil again before 50 hours. Believe it or not, Sea-Doo actually feels that XPS can run 50 hours between changes. Whether you're comfortable doing that, you can. I typically said around every 10, the first 10 hours, do an oil change. I'm due. In fact, I'm way overdue. But I was kind of pushing it. I'm experimenting, quite frankly. I mean, I realize I'm a hypocrite because I'm like, change your oil at the first 10 hours. But I'm at 22 hours or 24 hours on the RXPX, and I'm pushing it to 30 hours because I want to see what I'm going to do an oil. I'm actually going to have a lab look at the oil and see what we find. Okay. Yes, it's physically loose. Thank you so much. Man, you're the best. God bless you, Kevin. Okay, if it's physically loose, that might be a physical failure of the arm or the actuator. So it might be worth just replacing the actuator arm. You got to diagnose and see what parts are broken. That's first and foremost. Did you put exhaust on your RXP? Thinking of doing it on mine? No, it's not mine, and I can't really modify it. I'm going to leave the exhaust the same. I'm actually really interested in just bare minimum stuff on that ski. I don't want to, I don't want to hurt it. And B, I really don't want to modify it because I don't think it needs it. There's guys who want to throw the kitchen sink at it, and I realize I'm costing Riva money by saying leave it alone. But personally, I'm going to leave the factory exhaust and the factory resonator on because I think it'll still make plenty of power. I think I could do 78, 79 miles an hour with factory exhaust, no problem. And it won't be noisy, it won't be obnoxious. I won't have a problem with back pressure. It'll be fine. All right, guys. Well, I think we're done. It's been an hour and 45. I definitely did not want to do 2 hours. So thank you again for tuning in. I apologize for the late start. Life happens, right? Like the comment said. But guys, thank you again. I really appreciate Kang. I did articles on this in exhaustive detail. So you need to go to Watercraft Journal and type in Pro Series sponsons. Go to the Watercraft Journal, go to the search function, and type in Pro Series sponsons. And you'll find all the information you'll ever need. And I've also done videos on it, so I'm not going to talk about it. Guys, thank you again. We're all done here. I'm checking out. Thanks again. We have I have a video coming out pretty quickly on how to make the Sea-Doo Link gas tank actually worth a damn, because the filler neck on it is strangled because of California emissions. You know, the carb board, and we show you how to just make it actually work. So if you live in a state that's not going to scream and yell at you for making a gas tank work or a gas can work, we show you how to do it with nothing. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.